Rolling waves are not for everyone, but that's where pelagic birds have the most fun.
Thank you for tuning into Hannah and Eric Go Birding, a podcast by birders for birders.
I'm Hannah and he's Eric.
We created this podcast to share adventures, sometimes misadventures, and opinions that we have on different birding topics. We're definitely not experts in anything that we discuss that might be controversial. I want you to remember, their own opinions, they might be different from yours. Pelagic birds might have fun in the rolling waves. I just don't know if I have fun in the rolling waves.
I do, but not for like extended periods of time. After a while, it's kind of like, okay, when's this ride gonna be over? Our tufted puffin walks have been plugging along here in Cannon Beach, Oregon. We've had some really busy days with lots of people coming to look at the puffins, and we've been able to show them, I think, everybody puffins. I mean, we've had bald eagles come through and they spook everybody off Haystack Rock, so that's always exciting, but difficult to find the puffins.
And I think literally every single day that we've been out so far, a bald eagle has come down and caught a murre.
Yeah.
I don't think we've missed a single day of an eagle catching a murre. So it doesn't matter. We went yesterday afternoon, middle of the afternoon, got one.
Yeah, well, they're busy feeding their babies.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in Cannon Beach, Oregon over the summer, we'd love to have you join us for a tufted puffin walk. They're free and you don't have to sign up. You just have to come on the days that we're actually doing it. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out our website. We have the flyer of all the dates and everything and more details on there.
So we mentioned kind of in the last episode a little bit, but we have a little bit more details about the May Big Day. The final, quote unquote, final results are in. And we came in 7th.
Woo-hoo.
The Go Birding team came in 7th. And there was a lot of birds seen that day.
Oh, totally. Yeah, there was over 8,000.
Yeah, over 8,000 birds seen. A little over half of those birds were recorded as either audio or pictures on eBird. So a substantial amount of media was submitted to the Macaulay Library. So lots and lots of stuff seen that day.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. You know, we didn't have a whole lot of time to go out and go birding, but when we did, the couple things that we ended up seeing were like team birds, like the puffins, and I think the murres also, and then we ran up and got a snowy plover, so those were team birds. So just that goes to say that every little bird helps. The next Global Big Day is October 10th. We want you to join our team again and see if we can find even more birds. Because this time we found, I think it was 589 is what was recorded on the Global Birding page for our team. And we tied with the Euphonias, the women birding team in Panama.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have so many more birds that we could find. So please join us on October 10th for that Global Big Day.
Yeah, and speaking of October, in October, we will be going to Costa Rica. And I feel like, I wish I would have checked if there was any updates, but I think there's probably a couple more spots left. The trip is a go. It's sold enough that we're going, but there might be a couple more seats. So if you are interested in going with us with Naturalist Journeys to Costa Rica in October, check out the show notes or our website. I think we have a bunch of links all over the place for it. But I'm excited to get to Costa Rica, to the Caribbean side especially. We haven't been up to that area, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about these lodges. They're beautiful. Naturalist Journey staff was telling us that you can just like sit on the patio and see tons of birds. They were like saying that we could do a bunch of live streams, which I know isn't very exciting for the people that are on our group trip. If I'm just sitting there talking into my phone. But I'm really excited because I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to sit like at a bird feeder and like do a live stream, but never really had like the service and you know the space to do it. So yeah, I'm hoping that all works out because I just love to share birds with other people, and I know how much fun it is to do the tufted puffin live streams that we've done here and the elk, Roosevelt elk live streams. And
just imagine doing it with 12 species of hummingbirds.
Yeah, right. If I can catch them in the scope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about that trip, please check out our website and the show notes and everything else. And yeah, it'll be a great time. So if you do want to support our show, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee, or you can Venmo to support our show. There are, ongoing costs with doing a podcast, a website, and hosting and all that stuff. So thank you to everyone who has supported us. We really appreciate it. We want to share birds as much as we can, and your support helps us do that. We also have merchandise you can purchase on Bonfire, and I've linked that through our Buy Me a Coffee page. Got more bird earrings up there and other gear. So just go to that extra tab on the Buy Me a Coffee and you can see all that stuff.
So Hannah, you've got 2 other podcasts that come out in between episodes of Hannah and Eric Go Birding. You have last week Bird Nerd Book Club, where you read a book and you interviewed an author. Who did you read?
Well, I had Richard Smith, who's a British freelance writer, and he wrote a book. It's an older book. It came out a couple years ago called A Sweet Wild Note, about his journey to learn more about birdsong and to learn birdsong himself, because he, had this like hole missing in his birding, and it was bird calls. And so he was on a journey to try to learn more about that, and he brings the reader along.
Nice. And then next week, Women Birds Happy Hour?
Yeah, so I have Liliana Trujillo on the podcast, and she's a Colombian birder who we actually ran into when the one time we went to Colombia.
The one time we went to Colombia, we met
her. Small world. So yeah, I'm excited to share more about her and birding in Colombia with you all. So Eric, we're going some places.
Yeah, so just recently added to our calendar, Hannah really wanted to book this. I really want to go here too, but the Big Island of Hawaii. I've never been there, and in September we're headed over there to renew or recertify our scuba certification, and then see if we can find some endemic birds. So if you have any tips of the best dive shop that we should be going to, or I'm sure we'll be reaching out to Lance, but if there's any other guides or any other information that we should absolutely need to have before we go to the Big Island, let us know. We're going in September.
Or if you know anybody doing really cool conservation work,
yes,
we would love to reach out to folks who are doing conservation work in Hawaii. So, definitely let us know if you know more about that and you want to share.
Yeah, and then like I said, Costa Rica in October. We are headed there with Naturalist Journeys and a bunch of our listeners. Super excited to do that. And then in November, the Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival. We're going back down to that.
We have to buy plane tickets.
Still have to buy plane tickets for that. And then Birding the Border in Del Rio in April. So we've never been to that festival. We've been invited a couple of years in a row and have not been able to make it work. So I'm very excited to get down there in the spring. It's not quite the Rio Grande Valley, but it is technically South Texas, and it is...
half of Texas is South Texas?
Half of Texas could be, yeah. It's San Antonio South, I guess, is what's considered South. After having lived there, it was weird that people would refer to South Texas, and it's like, you're 6 hours north of us. How are you south?
When we were in Houston, people would say they were in South Texas.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
There's a lot more south to this than that.
Yeah, 5 years of living there, I still never really got the... those comments. But regardless, we're going to Del Rio in April to go to Birding the Border.
So that brings us to our May Bird Nerd giveaway. So for this Bird Nerd giveaway, what we have is an art piece made by Tu, which is spelled T-U, who is an avid birder and artist behind her brand, Two Hands Creations. She turns her bird sightings into handmade pottery, especially bird mugs, so you can bring a little bit more birding joy into your daily routine. And you can find her work on Instagram at Two Hands Creation, at Two Hands Creations, or at twohandscreations.com. Again, it's two spelled T-U. And this one we selected a turkey vulture ornament for the randomly selected winner. And what we asked you to do was to tell us something about birds that brings you joy, which we had a lot of really fun responses. People were talking about like the culture of birding and like things about that they really liked. They were talking about specific things that some birds do. Somebody was mentioning woodpeckers smacking their head against a tree, and that brings them joy. But Eric, who randomly won this one?
So our randomly selected winner is Kristen. They said, I love helping others learn about birds, birding, when I'm outside in the field. Sharing the joy gives me joy. Us too. That's why we do the podcast. That's why we do our Tufted Puffin walks. That's why we go to festivals and show people birds, because all of those things. And it's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and it takes a village, to help people get on birds and birding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's always great that there's other people who are out there willing to share. Because we've met plenty of people who they just want a bird and that's what they want to do. They don't really care about sharing with others. So, like I said, it takes all kinds.
Yeah. So congratulations, Kristen. We'll be in contact to get your contact information to get you this piece of art.
So we've mainly done pelagics that are like later in the year, like July and September, and that's just kind of by virtue of like the schedule opens in January and I panic about like let's do one that's really far out so I don't have to think about it right now.
Yeah.
And so we'll sign up for ones that are like later in the year or that are on weekdays, like the one that we did in July that was like on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work for everybody's schedule, but for us working in the hospitality business, that actually works a lot better.
Midweek is typically better for us.
Yeah, it's hard for us to get Saturdays off. So anyways, this time we were a little bit more discerning about when we selected our pelagic because we're getting to the point on the West Coast where we've seen a lot of the birds that we're likely going to see on a pelagic.
Most of the regularly occurring things. Like there's always the chance something random's going to just kind of blow in because pelagic birding, I feel like, is such a mystery still. There's, like...
It's a crapshoot.
It's so random out there. And you can stack the deck in your favor, going certain times of the year, going to certain geologic formations underwater, those sorts of things. But it's not as similar. It's hard to compare land birding and pelagic birding. Like, people don't go in the ocean. People aren't out in the ocean daily birding. They might be out there fishing, but they're not out there birding, and so it's
fishermen can be birders.
They can be, absolutely, but there just isn't as much data, even for some place like Westport Pelagics, which has been going out for years.
I think it was like 30 some odd
years.
Yeah,
for years they've been going out to the same location, going out once or twice a month, all year round, going out to the same location and surveying all the birds. So even with all that data, there's still big holes in what could be out there and everything. So there is still a mystery about what you could find. But the regularly occurring things, we've kind of exhausted those for the most part.
Yeah, and we really do like going out on, or I really do like going out on pelagics because
I tolerate it. It's the seasickness.
It's exciting, and I always think like, what are the chances that you're gonna run into X, Y, and Z bird like out in the middle of nowhere? But pelagics tend to be very time consuming and costly, and so we don't, we only do one or two a year because of those things. So it's like hard to dedicate because it's a 2-day thing for us to go up and then get on the boat and then come back. Yeah,
because we live just far enough away that it's difficult to get to any of the docks before 6 before the boat leaves. So we typically have to go and stay near it. So either car camping, which we haven't done yet, but you usually typically stay in a hotel. So that adds the cost of a hotel for one night. So we don't do them as often as we could. Yeah. Even though we live at the beach, live at the ocean.
We need to start doing pelagics out here.
Yeah, pelagics out of Cannon Beach. We'll just get in a kayak or something out of the creek and just go out.
That doesn't sound incredibly dangerous. I have done that.
I know.
So anyways, that's our explanation around pelagics for us and for why we decided to go on the March one out of Westport because that was the only one that they've had Parakeet Auklet on, and that's my target that I want to see is a Parakeet Auklet.
Yeah, so most pelagic companies, if you look at their website, at least on the West Coast, they all have this where they'll have the last 10 years of data. Like they'll say, okay, well, this March one we had this March in 24 we had that. Like you can go back and see all the different species. Sometimes they'll have numbers, sometimes they just have check mark boxes, but you can get an idea of generally in March you're going to see these sorts of things, and February and October. So it kind of helps plan a little bit. And Parakeet Auklet had check boxes only in March for the Westport Pelagic. So, or I think there was one checkbox in a different month, but basically they were all in March. So it's like, all right, so March is what we need to target. And we were lucky. We were able to find one on January 1st, opened up, and we booked one in March.
But I gotta say, thank goodness that our friend texted us and to remind us about that they had gotten on certain pelagics because I did forget. And
yeah, she was like, hey, so I got on these ones. Which ones did you guys get on? We're like, shoot.
So I had to panic and book. But fortunately, there was space available for the one we wanted to go on. So the day was coming up, and we got an email saying that they had to delay the trip by a day due to weather conditions, which that happens, so it's not a big deal. And at least, it was destined to just be the next day.
Yeah. So I mentioned that we have to go up and stay in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Something that not every city, not every port town has this, but Westport does, and I think Garibaldi, the other town that's near us, has hotels that follow this sort of protocol. Is if you are on a fishing boat or if you're on a pelagic trip and the boat trip gets bumped a day, usually it's bumped the day before, so you don't really have any notice. A lot of times, like the place that we stay in Westport and down in Garibaldi, they have this. Is the hotel will be flexible and let you move to the next day or cancel if the whole trip gets canceled because of weather without penalty. So the ones that we've talked to, they work with the hotel. So if you're doing that and you have to stay in a hotel, double check with the hotel, see what their cancellation policy is, make sure that you're following it and all that stuff. But and don't take advantage of it because you guys all know, we own and operate a hotel.
And we hate it when people cancel because of bad weather.
Exactly.
Because they cancel like the day before and it's like, mm-hmm. Hey, so now, yeah.
Okay, and these cancellations that we have for the Pelagic, which we had to bump a day, it is because of the weather, but also it's the entire reason we're there is for the Pelagic trip, and that's not even happening. So It's getting bumped to another day. So they're willing to work with people. So look into that if you go and do that.
But also
if you have to stay at night.
But also be a respectful and responsible hotel guest, please.
Please. Coming from some hotel operators here.
Yep. So we drove up to the bumped day. We drove up to Westport, Washington. It's mm-hmm. about a 3-hour drive for us. It's actually a really pretty drive from Cannon Beach to Westport. It's really rural. So, I mean, you're not really driving through towns. You're driving through forests for the most part. And
pretty much the entire way, yeah.
Yeah. We got there a little earlier in the day than we normally do because there wasn't too much going on at work. So my parents were like, get out of here.
Go on, get.
Yeah, so we had a chance to actually wander around Westport a little bit, like in the sun.
Because the weather was actually really, really nice.
It was.
Though the sea conditions were rough, though. Like looking out, we went out to the jetty tower, and it was rough out there. So I can understand why it was canceled. But the weather was so nice. Yeah. It was nice and warm and sunny, and I guess it wasn't super warm. I was still wearing a jacket, but it seemed warm. Seemed like it should have been warm.
Yeah, so we got some ice cream and wandered around. Not too exciting, anything there. But a couple of surf scooters and cormorants and gulls were in the harbor. Mm-hmm. The town of Westport, unfortunately, it looks like it's a lot of businesses are struggling there. So we're going to meet up with some friends for dinner that were arriving that, night before the Pelagic. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the brewery that we had been to, like, in September of last year had closed.
Yeah, in the last 6 months. It's gone now. So
which is a bummer because it was good.
Yeah, and it was kind of unfortunate. It kind of, like Hannah said, it kind of seems like a lot of the businesses are not doing so hot there. There was the one ice cream shop that we went to and one restaurant. Yeah. And that was all that was open that day.
Well, it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. So I think a lot of the tourist shops had closed already, or maybe they just didn't open because it was like right before spring break. So maybe mm-hmm. they were taking like a pre-spring break time off.
Maybe that's all it was. And it's not that, they're doing bad. It's that they were resting up before they needed to hit it hard for spring break.
The brewery is definitely closed.
Yeah, the brewery is definitely closed, which is unfortunate because it was good brewery. Yeah, good food.
So we ended up going to the only restaurant that was open, which is what is it? It's like Alabama barbecue and Hawaiian restaurant. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting fusion of things, and unfortunately, like I said, they were like the only restaurant open, so they were packed, and they had very little food. They didn't have any. I think no fish and no pork.
Yeah, no fish, no pork.
It was basically, or maybe no, they had fish tacos, didn't they? Isn't that what you got?
No, I just got a regular burger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, they did have some fish, but they were like, oh, well, we're out of these things, and then also no pork.
Yeah. So
it's like, okay, so there's like 5 things left on the menu that we can choose from.
And they only had 2 wait staff for like a dozen tables or so. I felt like I needed to get up and start taking orders. Yeah, because they were slammed. I felt really bad for them.
Yeah, I mean, they were the only place open, so.
Yeah. So anyways, that was a fun evening that we had pre the Pelagic, which you always do have to consider, that you're going to get up early and you're going to be on a rocking ship for a while. So be cognizant about what you eat the night before.
Yeah.
But the next morning we got to the ship just before 6 a.m. So 2025 was the last year for the original boat that did Westport Pelagics, the Monte Carlo. It was sold over the winter, and now Westport Pelagics engages with the Blitz and Captain Todd, and the original owner, Phil, was still part of the trip. So it was really good to see him because he knows what he's doing, and this was the first, public trip out for the year. So he, wanted to be there and make sure everything went smoothly.
Yeah, so I don't know if Phil's going to continue being a part of the whole situation. I have a feeling he's going to sporadically be a part of it because these pelagic birders. Like, I'm not a pelagic birder. I'm a birder that does pelagic.
You are
sometimes.
A land birder.
I'm a land birder. I'm a birder that does pelagic sometimes. So I don't get the same thing, but I feel like there are like a lot of the birders that we know that are pelagic birders. It's in their blood. They can't not be out there. Like, they have to go out. And I feel like Phil is one of those people that he has to go out there. He has to go out in the ocean. And even though they sold the boat, they don't have the Monte Carlo anymore. He's still going to be coming and going on these Westport Pelagics for a while, I imagine. So our target location was Willapa Canyon. We've been out to Willapa Canyon before. This is out off the West Coast. You have like 5 or maybe 10 miles of not a lot of stuff, like not a lot of
topographic
features initially, and then it drops into a bunch of canyons and ridge lines and stuff, and they're out from rivers basically. So the Willapa Bay comes out, and there's like this kind of shallow canyon, and then it drops off into this massive canyon about 10 miles offshore, 15 miles offshore, and all of these rivers that come out the outside of Rogue, the Columbia, all of these places have these big, huge features underwater that if you're above water, you can't see any of that stuff. It's literally just flat ocean. But these underwater topographic features, they make things happen. They change the currents, they push fish to the surface during upwellings, all of those things. And these different locations are the target locations for pelagic birds. And then consequently, for pelagic birders, go out to these locations to go find it. And this is a location that they've been surveying, the Willapa Canyon, for decades. And that was our target for the location, or for the day.
Yeah, and so since the trip was delayed, a few folks weren't able to make it. So our friend, Kristen, actually got off the wait list and onto the trip. So there's, always a good reason to put your name on the wait list.
Absolutely. If you're flexible and you think you can make it, being on the wait list can be useful. Yeah.
So we, everybody finally got on the boat and we started making our way out. The crossing of the bar was pretty rough. And this bar is a very long, bar. And in the past, it's been the one that makes me the most seasick out of the ones that we've been through.
Just because it lasts so long.
It's like a mile or something like that to get through the bar.
It takes forever.
Yeah.
And this time was no different. This is the roughest. It wasn't like choppy rough. It was just very large swell rough.
Yeah.
There was a fishing boat behind us, like a big trawler that was following behind us.
And it was dark when we left.
It was dark when we left. Big, massive trawler that had huge, huge spotlights all up and down it, all pointing towards us so that they could see where they were going and they could see us so they didn't run into us. But we're going along, and the trawler, it was probably 50 feet maybe high. Like, those lights, they were huge.
I know.
And in between swells, the entire boat would disappear. And then the whole thing would come back and we would be like 50 feet above it. And then it was just like the troughs and the crests on these waves were massive. And we're just like going through them and it's huge. So I had my scopolamine patch. It was definitely working in overdrive, but I was having a rough day still. Like I never lost it the whole day, which was lucky. I'm very glad for that because a lot of people were. But it was a rough rough crossing of the bar.
I'm glad I never saw anybody chum, because that's what would set me off.
Oh, yeah.
More. It's a sympathetic, thing for me. But also, yeah, it was really rough. There were points where if I wasn't holding on to the handrail, I probably would have been flung off the back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was substantial swell out there. So completely understand why this was delayed by a day, because this was an easier crossing than the day before.
Yeah.
So the day before would have been so much worse. But we got out there. The sun started to come up a little bit. It was kind of clearing out a little bit. The waves were calming down. Once we were past the bar, it was still choppy. It was choppy the whole day, but it was much better once we were out past the bar.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we were seeing common murres and northern fulmars and a couple of scoters. And, we were seeing northern fulmars, much closer in than we typically see them. So, yeah, you can really tell that the wind was doing something to them.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I'm used to, like Hannah said, this is our earliest pelagic in the year that we've ever done. The first one out of winter in March, the earliest we've been. But I've never really seen that few northern fulmars. I feel like we normally have so many more northern fulmars, but we go in a different time of year. So yeah. It's just interesting seeing those differences.
Yeah, so a little while on, we started getting into the Cassin's Auklet range and more common murres and sooty shearwaters and one short-tailed shearwater. And like you were saying, that the differences in the year, we have a seabird migration that happens here in the fall, where we'll get thousands of sooty shearwaters.
So many.
And if you've listened to our other pelagic episodes, that we've done, we'll talk about these just huge masses of shearwaters that are out in the water. This time we saw shearwaters, but relatively few of them.
Yeah, hundreds or maybe into 1,000. Yeah, but not thousands. I mean, plural.
There was the one time in Garibaldi where literally every square inch of 10 square miles there was covered.
10,000 sooty shearwaters that year. And then our first time going on this pelagic, going out to Gray's Canyon, it was an August trip or a July trip?
It was July.
It was a July trip. This was 2020, I think. Maybe 2021. And we had thousands of pink-footed shearwaters that year. And this time, I think we had 9 total pink-footed shearwaters that were kind of mixed in by the ones. I got a couple photos of some pink-footed shearwaters, but it was just one here, one there, and that was about it. So such a drastic difference, both year to year, but also month to month. So there's always something interesting to see out there.
Yeah. And around sunrise, the water started getting calmer, and we began to see huge swarms of Velella, which are also known as by-the-wind sailors. And there are these interesting little creatures that on the West Coast we see them. I don't know otherwise.
On the West Coast or on the East Coast. Huh.
Yeah. That's one thing I failed to look up. Anyways, we get them washing up on our beaches a lot, and people are, always asking us, what are they? And they eventually start to decompose and smell.
They're so pretty when they first land, and then they're bright blue, and then they lose that blue color after 2 or 3 days, as they get bleached in the sun. And then the smell starts. And it gets rough. But out in the ocean, they're alive. They're floating around doing their thing.
And they're an interesting little creature. It's a hydrozoa, and they're related to jellyfishes and corals. And they're a free-floating colonial animal that lives on the surface of the open ocean, like a Portuguese man of war, which is probably the more common thing that people have heard of. And one of their predators is actually nudibranchs, which I found
I didn't know they had any predators. I just assumed they live their life and then they just die because they don't find enough food. I didn't think anything ate them.
And they have these small stiff sails that they use to catch the wind, and that helps propel them across the ocean, and gives them their name by the wind sailors, because it blows them around. And like we were saying, under certain wind conditions they can be stranded on beaches by the millions. And we've seen them a couple times when we were out there. Most notably when we were doing the Santa Cruz Island trip
to go find the island scrub jay.
Yeah, there was millions of them on the ocean there. We were just the boat was pushing through swarms of them.
Yeah, and same thing with this trip. We were literally pushing through massive rafts.
They weren't as dense.
It wasn't as dense as it was down there, but it was still these massive rafts of just that we were able to use those rafts as points, like to be like, okay, well, so that close raft of Valella is just on the other side of it is where the pink-footed shearwater is, and so it would be like, oh, you could use these rafts of things as markers to see things out there.
So these creatures, they feed on plankton by hanging their tentacles down into the water and stinging them with their nematocysts. So yeah, I just
like jellyfish.
Yeah, I actually learned a lot about these species that I should know before because we get asked about it so much.
We get asked about it constantly. But the interesting thing is that the nematocysts are not as intense as jellyfish, so they don't really hurt people unless if you have an allergy or a sensitivity to them. Then you can have an issue. And then dogs try to eat these things, and usually it makes them throw up and have like diarrhea, and that's like really all it does to the dogs. It doesn't kill them or anything like that, because we have dogs out here all the time that are very curious on Cannon Beach.
They more roll in it than anything.
They want the smell. They really want to get that smell on them.
Yeah. So we started, seeing huge groups of these, and about 7 miles out, and we had this poor little ruby crown kinglet that was flying around the boat getting chased by gulls. So I don't know how that ruby crown kinglet ended up doing it.
I'm sure it was fine.
Thank you. Yeah. It flew off. So good luck, little kinglet. And then we started getting into deeper waters with more pelagic species like Pomeranian Jaegers and black-footed albatross and more shearwaters.
Yeah, so many black-footed albatross this year on this trip. Like every single list had 3 or 4, 5, 6. We had good numbers of black-footed albatross, just kind of sporadically all throughout the day. No single list had like any particularly massive number, but it was just pretty much, they were ubiquitous through the whole day. It was just nonstop, like, oh, there's another black-footed albatross. Oh, there's another black-footed albatross. So that was pretty cool. We didn't really get super great looks at any Jaegers this go around.
Not really.
Had a couple fly by pretty distant, but nothing super close. But one thing that I thought was really notable is how many black-legged kittiwakes we had all day long. Big, huge groups of them. Mm-hmm. Groups of 20s, groups of 30s, just kind of flying around. They'd do a couple of laps around the boat, and then they continue flying on, doing whatever they're doing, going to find fishing boats. They'd investigate us to see if we're throwing out offal, and we're not. So then they'd be like, okay, go on to the next boat.
Yeah, well, and one thing that really struck me was the rhinoceros auklets and their breeding plumage.
Oh my gosh,
We got some really great close-up looks of them, and with their little tufts on their eyebrow and their mustache.
And their cheek.
Yeah, they're just super pretty little birds. But still, we had no parakeet auklets, no matter how hard I was trying to turn every Cassin's auklet into a parakeet.
Yeah, but we kept looking. It was honestly, it never really warmed up the whole day. So it was cold the whole day. Hannah went into the cab a handful of times. There was a couple of people in there that were trying to sleep off the seasickness. I could not go inside because that was going to make it worse. That was going to make it worse for me. So I was like, I got to stay out in the air. But I was freezing.
Yeah,
standing on a deck. The wind was whipping the whole day. It was honestly, we've been on pleasant pelagics and we've been on unpleasant pelagics, and this was leaning towards the unpleasant side of
it was at
the
least
conditions.
Nice weather, like it wasn't raining.
It wasn't raining. That's why it wasn't bad conditions. It was just kind of a little chilly and very windy and rough the whole day. So
it was one of those pelagics that I couldn't imagine doing a December one.
Yeah.
Because people, they do a December pelagic
December
every year, and it just, to me, that just sounds absolutely miserable. Like, dark and rainy the whole time. Which it probably isn't. I'm sure they delay them.
Delay until they get a good weather day, and then they go.
I know, but so many of our days are just dark and rainy. It's like, I don't want to be on a boat, too. But this boat was really nice. It had a nice inside cabin.
And none of this negativity has anything to do with Westport Pelagics themselves.
Not at all. It just has to do with my...
It's just the days. It's literally the weather for the day. And it's always a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get.
It's just my disdain for cold and rainy. But yeah, the boat was really nice. The inside cabin, like a lot of cabins that you'll get to, or, boats, they'll have they'll have bench seating like right when you walk in. Mm-hmm. And this one had like a nice open bench that was like towards the middle, so you could like put on gear or something like that without a table in the way. That was kind of nice. So
I
like the setup of that one.
You could get in, like 2 or 3 people could be in there putting on rain gear, like if you had to either put on or take off rain gear, and not really have to push around each other. It was relatively spacious with an open floor plan situation.
Yeah, so I kind of sat there and napped for a little bit. It also had these really nice seats, like just outside the cabin that face towards the back, like little
with a like alcove.
Yeah, like little quarter round seats.
Yeah.
And those were super comfortable, and like you were out of the wind. I like that, but those were capitalized the whole time.
I sat in one for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, I got.
You probably stole it from me.
I probably did, and I fell asleep for a few seconds on it.
Yeah. So, a couple of logistic things to think about with pelagics. So just around before noon, we were on the north end of the canyon and found some fishing vessels, which is always a good sign when you see those.
Because they are where the fish are at, and birds want to be where the fish are at also.
Yeah, and we had about 16 black-footed albatross that were around trying to scavenge the offal and bycatch. And then one massive albatross came in. It was obviously a different bird.
Yeah, so this guy, rich dark coloration, the striking pink bill sticking out like a sore thumb. It was a short-tailed albatross. So, lifer for us. Very excited about this thing.
Not even something that really we had on our
it wasn't on the list. It wasn't on what we wanted to see. Like,
I mean, of course we wanted to see it.
Oh, absolutely. But we weren't even thinking about it. Parakeet Auklet was what we were focused on the whole time. Like, we got to see Parakeet Auklet. So, this guy flies around with the boat. There's a bunch of black-footed albatross, and then this one that's flying around and just doing laps around us. It did maybe like 20 or 30 laps. I got a couple bad photos.
See, I love your photo here, how it has like the end of its wing like flipped up.
I really like that look of birds. So, especially long-winged birds, those last couple of primaries, when they're
like pushed up by the wind,
when they're being pushed up by the wind while they're sailing through, like I really like that look of just like that bent up right at the end.
We'll have to post that on Facebook so you can all see it. It's actually a relatively good picture.
It's
for Eric.
It's mostly in focus.
I mean, as it's teeny tiny, it looks great. I don't know what it looks like when it's blown up.
Don't blow it up. Look at it when it's tiny like that. It's better. But it was hanging out with all the other albatross at the fishing vessel, so that was pretty good. Lots of other birds that were there. We had lots of sooty shearwaters. We had the tons of the kittiwakes that were hanging around. A handful of the fulmars. Like I said, not very many fulmars, but still 17 on that checklist.
But the short-tailed albatross stole the show. I mean, it's a non-breeding individual. Like I was looking up online. It said they don't get their adult plumage until like 10 years.
That is. So I always think of like puffins take 4 years and gulls take 4 years. It's like, okay, that's a long time for a bird, but 10 years before they get their adult plumage.
Well, and they're the rarest.
Pretty substantial.
Yeah, and they're the rarest of the North Pacific albatross. Before the feather trade, they were relatively common, but then they almost went to extinction.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they nest on just 4 islands, including southern Japan and in the East China Sea. But they've actually had successful chicks on Midway and Cure Islands, though, which is pretty exciting. And so, who knows? Maybe it could have been one of those that we saw. And they feed mainly on squid, but, like other albatross and pelagic birds, they'll follow ship for offal. Their population, like I was saying, it was almost down to nothing. They were down to 25 individuals, but thanks to conservation efforts, now they're up to about 4,200 individuals, and they are just an incredibly beautiful bird. So I just can't believe that we ended up seeing one. Like I said, it wasn't really on my wants list because I wasn't super aware that we were going to have a potential for it.
I mean, it's a rare bird. It's a write-in. You have to so many birds on pelagic trips. They're like I was saying at the beginning of this. There's not enough data out there to know what needs to have a rare bird versus what is a uncommon enough bird that doesn't need a write-in. But all the reviewers err on the side of caution, and if it's not likely, they put a rare marker on it, and then that way you aren't just posting these things constantly. So it's got a little exclamation point on the checklist. They didn't bother writing anything because half the boat got photos of it, so you just plop the photos on there and there you go. But it was interesting seeing this guy flying around. But at the exact same time that this guy was flying around, our actual target popped up on the other side of the boat.
Yeah.
For a moment.
Yep.
Parakeet Auklet was seen. It was called out a couple of times. Hannah and I just raced across trying to squeeze through because that was literally our target. That's why we were there. Really wanted to get it. By the time we got over to the other side of the boat, all we saw were Cassin's Auklets. And I was like, shoot. All right, so we're going to keep our eyes open, keep looking.
I think we were the only people on the boat that didn't see it.
I have a feeling either that or people just didn't bother taking it off their checklists.
Yeah.
But didn't see that Parakeet Auklet.
Nope.
So this is about halfway through the day. We what they typically do for all of these, you bird on your way out, you're motoring hardcore until you get to the canyon, or you get to the geologic feature you're looking for. Float around that thing, do some laps around it, maybe find a boat, follow a boat for a little bit, a fishing boat for a little bit, and then turn around and come back. So at this point, we've been in the canyon for maybe an hour or so, and we're kind of starting to wrap that up. And ancient mirrolets flying around, Cassin's Auklets flying around, lots of interesting birds, tons of kittiwakes still, but it was kind of starting to wind down in terms of activity, not really as busy. Until there was a weird shearwater mixed in with the sooties that was very obvious. Pink-footed shearwaters
they're grayer
than sooty shearwaters.
They're lighter gray.
Lighter gray. So they stick out. You can see them even if you don't really know how to identify shearwaters that easily. You can kind of tell them apart. Like, okay, well they're that one's different than that one pretty notably. But this shearwater really stuck out.
Yeah.
It is bright white. Like it's just like paper white underneath. So this other shearwater was not on our target list either. It was a lifer for us. We've talked about wanting to see it, but it wasn't high regularity in March. It was more of a late spring.
I think they get maybe one a year.
Yeah, it's not very common, but a Manx shearwater.
Yeah.
Manx. So Manx shearwater, very, very exciting. I did not get any photos of it. It was very quick. There's a total of 5 photos on the checklist, so I don't think very many people got photos of this bird as it flew past. But bright white, it has a crescent behind its ear of white that goes up that kind of makes it look like it's got a chin strap that it's wearing. It's got like white underneath its chin, and then it kind of goes up by its ear in a crescent. So it's very notably different than any of the other shearwaters that we have out in this area. So it was very easy to identify, but really interesting bird that we got like total of 5 photos on the boat, and I think almost everyone saw it. It was just so quick.
Well, and it was going around and around with the shearwaters, but it was nice that it was, with those other shearwaters, so you can really see the difference between the birds. And like you were saying, with the pink-footed shearwaters, they're like a variation in between the sooties and the Manx. Like, they're just a little bit more grayer than the Manx, but not as gray as the sooties.
Yeah.
So yeah, pelagic birding is always fun.
It's kind of like you learn what the common things are. And then you learn to compare everything to the common things, and then you slowly start differentiating. It's just like other birding, but there's just less species, and less frequent interactions with the species. So it's kind of it's like learning how to bird all over again, basically. Like it's like starting from scratch, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, but I was also excited to get the ancient mirrolets because we had a group of 7 of them that were really close to the boat. People got photos of those. I
got some photos. They look worse than the photos that are included in the checklist, but they're basically the exact same photos. Like I was looking at one of these. It looks like Janine took a photo on the boat, and her photo is 5 ancient mirrolets flying away from us, and mine was 5 ancient mirrolets. We were probably standing literally right next to each other and took the exact same photo, but my photo's out of focus and hers is in focus. So, some people know how to use their cameras, and then some people are me. But
we didn't pay enough for that autofocus feature on yours.
I'll learn how to use it some days. I just have fun pointing at things and pulling the trigger.
Getting blurry photos.
Getting blurry photos of everything. But
you're not going to be able to pay off that camera if you don't take better pictures.
I know, if I don't start taking photos in focus, I'm never going to pay that thing off.
So I'm starting to GoFundMe right now to help Eric buy a better camera that can do it all for him.
No. I like looking at birds. I enjoy
No.
looking at them, and it's a lot of fun when you can get a photo of it, but it's not the whole
end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
But, it was really fun to see these ancient murrelets because I saw one, my lifer one was like 2 years ago on the October big day that I saw just off of the beach here. You were busy doing your fireman dinner, so you didn't get to see that one. But then we saw your lifer in Japan this last February. But these ones were...
This is my U.S. lifer.
But it was like a better view.
Oh, yeah. This is the best view of the three, I imagine, right? It was better than the Japan view, and then better than...
Well, when I saw it, it was out here on the
storming
beach. And they were kind of far out, and I was looking at through my scope at them. So, yeah, you really got to see the coloration difference on their face, which is cool.
That was super cool. And so, right around this time, minks, shearwater, ancient murrelets, some excitement. Suddenly, there was 12 parakeet auklets, two different flocks that somehow...
I legitimately heard nobody say anything about these.
I heard one. I heard one comment about one of the flocks. And it was like, oh, there's a flock of parakeet auklets. And so then I go running to the back of the boat. Nothing. I see nothing. I guess you didn't hear anything about any of them, but I missed them entirely. So no parakeet auklet for us for the trip.
The first sighting that we had before, like I heard people talk about it, and I was like looking in the direction that people were seeing it, but like I never saw anything. And somebody was trying to talk me into adding it into my list because they were like, "Well, you were here," and it's like, but that doesn't count for me. Like. I need to see the bird.
Yeah.
Which everybody, it's like your own list, as long as you're not stringing people along or lying about sightings. It is what it is. Like nobody can tell you how to make your list, but I wanted a better look.
Mm-hmm. I definitely never saw it. And I think part of my problem was just that it was a rough day on the sea, and I was basically kind of seasick like the whole time. Like I was barely not seasick, I guess, is where I was at. I had this scopolamine patch, which does wonders for me, but it was still borderline just because of how rough it was, and so I was sleepy and like it was just kind of like ugh the whole day. So got the short-tailed albatross. We got the minks shearwater, 2 lifers. One of them we got good photos of. Saw lots of other birds. Missed our main target, but. That's not the end of the world.
Guess we have to go to Alaska.
We got to go back. Just like the horned...
Did you say got to go back?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, we haven't been there yet.
No. Oh, I was thinking got to go back on the boat.
Oh, I see. No. I'm just... Screw that. Let's go to Alaska. And it's a sure thing. It's a lock.
It's a lock. Just like the horned puffin.
Yeah.
Got to go to Alaska now.
These birds are a lot easier to see when you go to where they breed.
Yeah, that is true. So we also, something I forgot to mention, we had a pretty high number of pelicans in the harbor as we were leaving and as we were coming back in. Like this time of year, so the further north you get, the less pelicans you have. Washington just really doesn't have nearly as many pelicans as we do down in Oregon, and then California's got even more. But we had some pretty good numbers of pelicans, both out, like in the inshore waters that are on the way out, or on the way back in, I guess, and in the harbor itself. So that was kind of interesting. Everyone was notably talking about it, like, oh, look at all these.
Throughout the whole trip, we didn't see a whole lot of like mammals. We saw 1 or 2. I think it was. Did they say gray whales?
Yeah, I think a couple of gray whales.
They were pretty far off the boat. We had, fur seals. We usually get fur seals. A couple of whales, a couple of fur seals. You know, there wasn't a whole lot in the mammal department on this trip.
Yeah, white-sided dolphins.
Yeah.
A couple of those. Harbor porpoise on the way back in. A few, like, relatively low. I have a feeling it's just because the ocean was so rough.
Well, I think
that they were probably there. We were
too.
just in between troughs and crests and stuff like that, so it's harder to see.
Yeah.
And there was also, I feel like, less fishing activity out there.
Yeah, I think
so. I'm just kind of wondering, like, maybe it is time of year, because this is the first time doing a March one for us. So things are different in March than they are in July out in the ocean.
Sure.
But But yeah, we on our way back in, pigeon guillemot, which we have lots of them nesting here in Cannon Beach, but had a couple of good looks at pigeon guillemots flying or swimming around the boat.
White-winged scoters. We had black turnstones on the jetty, when we started getting into it. And more kittiwakes. More than I've ever seen of kittiwakes.
And some Bonaparte gulls, short-billed gulls, ring-billed, American herring. Lots of gull spa. So that was very exciting.
Some beautifully plumaged Brandt's cormorants. And, double-crested and pelagic got the whole cormorant suite in there. And that was about it.
Yeah,
so we got back to our car. Fortunately, they have a quality bathroom in the parking lot there. So you could, refresh yourself before heading off. And Eric had to remove his scopolamine patch or else he'd sleep on the drive back.
Yeah, take it off, wash my neck, wash my hands, and then go get a coffee to try to get past all of that seasickness and put it behind me and
warm up.
Move on. And warm up,
Yeah, so, as we mentioned, this is the first time we've done a March trip, a spring trip, which was totally worth it. I wasn't entirely sure what we were going to end up seeing. We ended up getting 2 lifers, not the one that we were going out for, unfortunately. But there's always next time. And
we'll have to book a March one next year and see if we can actually get the Parakeet Auklet. Or just go up to Alaska. I don't know.
Which one's easier? But it was fun seeing it in a different time of the year. And we really like Westport Pelagics because they don't pack the boat full. They have a reasonable number of people, so there's plenty of space. You're not shoving through people to try to get to see birds. I do wish that folks had been a little bit more vocal with the Parakeet Auklet, but it is what it is.
I think there was a lot of seasickness going on that day.
Well, and I think it's a rough ocean. It's loud. The boat's loud. It's just tough to hear it. We've been on other boats before where they say things over the intercom. Yeah. So I almost wish there would have been that, but it is what it is.
They might start doing that with the intercom, in future Pelagics or in Pelagics they're already doing now. I have no idea. We haven't been. They've done a handful since we went on that one. So
yeah.
It was the first public trip with this boat. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'm not trying to throw shade on him or anything like that. It's just the I wish I would have gotten that bird.
I know. The whole reason we wanted to
go.
But
we got 2.
We got 2 other lifers.
Yeah, no, I was really excited about the albatross. It is just such a beautiful, stunning bird. And I kind of am more excited that it was a non-breeding individual.
Yeah, because I feel like the non-breeding individual is a little bit more notable.
It was just so striking, just this rich black and the bright pink bill. Mm-hmm. It was a stunning bird.
Yeah.
So we had a good time, and we definitely recommend, if you want to get out on a pelagic, checking out the Westport Pelagic sometime. That was our 3rd trip with them, and it's been a good time every time.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and or learned something new. Please, please, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or anywhere else you listen to us. If you would like to connect with us on the socials, you can follow us at Hannah Goes Birding and Eric Goes Birding on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page at Hannah and Eric Go Birding, or you can send us an email at hannahhandericgobirding@gmail.com. You can also check out our website at www.gobirdingpodcast.com. Tell us what you think and share the love of birding with your friends.